Hey out there. This is Friday, March 24th, 2017. And it's just about 12 minutes before 10 in the morning here in Northern California. And I want to start out today just mentioning that as anybody that's ever watched any of my videos knows, I'm kind of an Alex Jones fan. That's where I got the inspiration to start doing this little video blog I do. And so I watch the news on InfoWars and Alex Jones, and I listen to his guests and his reporters, and I think that's the best news, the most accurate news you'll ever get. It's true that Alex, he's one of a kind guy, and he's very passionate, and sometimes I think the lines get blurred between showmanship and his passion, his genuine passion for humanity, basically is what it comes down to. And sometimes I wonder if he really understands the kind of awe that so many people have of his accomplishments in reaching the masses of people that he's reached with the news of the New World Order and 9/11 not being all it's cracked up to be by the official story, by pointing to over 2,200 architects and engineers, and by the way, that's a growing number that agree that the official 9/11 story is preposterous. But not to get into a whole big jag, a term I heard from Alex Jones, by the way. He gets a lot of guests on that I really admire, I really look up to, and I'm really glad. These are the kind of people that give me hope in humanity. And for my children, that's the most important thing. I'm not a young guy anymore, so I don't have that much longer to contend with this system as we know it. Until, of course, the resurrection and all that, when hopefully I'll be found worthy to inherit this renewed earth that Jesus spoke of in this new age that is to come. But for now, I don't have that much time. But for my children, for your children, for our children, for the next generation, we should all be fighting the good fight and do what we can. And these kind of people that I see, and in particular, he had guys like Colonel Anthony Schaefer on the show. He had, last week, he had Jesse James, a man that I greatly admire, a man that, right on the show, humiliated Alex, and it was, a beautiful thing. I mean, it's painful on one hand to see somebody get humiliated. I can't even remember what it was about. I mean, it's just not even important, really. But he's one of these kind of guys. He himself has so much humility that he sees that as a beautiful thing, even though he's quite famous and he's probably quite rich. I don't know. It's none of my business. But the thing is that this guy has a heart for humanity, like Alex. This is something that there was a strong bond that these people have in common, and I myself share with these kind of people. Alex has on just yesterday, still watching a video with Begich. What's his name? We've got the video pulled up right here. Nick Begich. And this guy, another guy, I just admire the crap out of. And then he's got Steve Pachenik on. I mean, all these people are very honest, and they're very pro-humanity. And this is something that I am too. And Alex himself, I mean, he's such a character, I think, and this is what has just endeared so many people to him as just as a human being, an individual that has really proven that there's a lot of power in the individual, that we can reach great heights, and he has not shrunk away from doing that. He has proven to not be a coward and to put it all on the line. I mean, this is what I admire so much about our veterans, is that all these bureaucrats and politicians and so many of these people with their profound belief systems and philosophies about this and that, the way of the left, the way of the right, and all this crap. These people cut through all that. They say, look, this is about a nation, and a nation that is to set an example for the other nations. That's what we're after. Being an American is just an idea. It's an idea that anybody in any nation, in any part of the world can adopt, and they can embrace, and they can behold those same American type values. And what are those values? It comes down to freedom. It comes down to the right to pursue happiness, certain inalienable rights that we possess, that we believe in equality, that ultimately it's not about the Constitution that was drawn up by men, but it's about the hand of God that is involved in our nation. That means the people, because a nation without the people is just a chunk of dirt and water and crap. It's just more real estate. Okay, it's about the people. It's about the precepts, the ideas that we behold and that we strive to attain. And we strive to leave the next generation with a better world than the one that we have known. And this is why I keep doing what I do. I've got to say something. I'm compelled. I cannot shut up. If I heard somebody talking like me and pointing out the things that I feel need to be pointed out, then I would shut up. Okay, if I heard them on the Alex Jones show, somebody out there has to understand the simplicity of the madness that we've all embraced. Our minds are all twisted. We can't help but be twisted. Of course, we're twisted from the original sin. This whole knowledge of good and evil is something we should know. We should know when we're naked or not. Okay, no other creature does. Why are we? This was the first question God asked Adam and Eve. Who told you you were naked? You understand? We weren't supposed to know that. And this is where death came in. And this was the lie that we bought. We were deceived as a race, as the human race that was built to be completely innocent, oblivious to sin, not knowing right from wrong, not knowing when we're naked or not. And we were just to live eternally on the earth. I mean, this is it. God didn't invent death. God didn't make anything bad. It was going against God that got us in all this trouble in the first place. And now these wicked rulers have taken advantage of our Achilles heel, our weaknesses, because being separated from God is a weakness. That is what sin is. It's that sense of separation. And in our weakness, His strength is perfected. So this is all part of His way of pulling us out of this slumber. And this is something we have to go through as a race, as a species, as a civilization. And it's happening on God's time, not ours. It doesn't help to get impatient with Him. He's doing His work. And, yes, I wish it would happen faster, but, it's all happening. And He's using people. And the only way anything is getting done is because God is using people, regular men, sinful men, to go out and to do His work, to be courageous and to stand in the face of the forces of darkness. And that's what needs to be done. That is fighting the good fight. And win, lose, or draw, I mean, we just have to ultimately believe that God's will is going to be established on earth as it is promised. I mean, that's it. That's having that ounce of faith, that mustard seed of faith like Jesus spoke about. And just knowing that this is science too. It's things like mathematics. This is the way God is operating, the light of truth, knowledge, information, wisdom. It's all happening. It's the power, it's the hand of God that's working through human beings that all this is being fulfilled. And all the combined forces of darkness cannot stop what is coming upon the earth. And that's a good thing. In our right mind, we would see that as a good thing. But so many of us don't. We feel threatened because it's the unknown. It's this idea that, well, we don't know what's coming, and maybe it's worse than what we what we have now. And it's not. This is something that the evil one puts in our hearts, and that evil one is so close to us that we all have to contend with our own evil side. That's how close it is. We do have an evil side that we have to confront. We have to all stand before God on a daily basis and say, God, help me with my evil side. I want a pure heart. I want to be like you. I want to just have goodwill toward all humanity, to forgive my enemy, to be like the dad in the story of the prodigal son. Because we all know what it's like to fall out of grace, to separate ourselves from God deliberately, knowing that this is insane practice, but it brings us a sordid pleasure. And pleasure and joy have a correlation. And that we know ultimately we should give you thanks for everything, because even if our sin is worldly and fleshly and carnal, we still know that at the organic root of it all is something good. You did not make the woman ever a bad thing. The woman is always a good thing. But it's written that we shouldn't be lusting after women. This is adulterous in the eyes of God. That just to behold a woman, we've committed adultery with her. So we depend on God's grace because we know we all fall. I mean, I could say I'm not a woman, but I could probably say the same thing for women too. They can lust after men. I mean, this is not something that is unusual. This is not something new under the sun, as King Solomon would say. The idea that people lust after each other, that we enjoy sex. So joy and enjoy and pleasure and sex, all these things. You understand what I'm getting at here, is that in all things give thanks. So even in our sin, I'm not trying to give people permission to sin, because this is a serious matter. You've got to, anytime I say something and you say, well, I might disagree with that perspective, that's good. Go straight to the Bible, because that's where I need to go. I need to make sure that I am not rationalizing things for my own purposes, because I know it's written that we need to pray that our sin will find us out. Okay, so ultimately, we don't like our weaknesses. We don't like that sense of separation from God, that emptiness that it brings, that vapid feeling is kind of depressing. And it's emblematic of what this world leaves us, what we're trying to escape from. And this is what vices do for people. All the things that people find pleasurable out there, all the sundry vices, I'm not going to go through them, the drugs and the alcohol and the entertainment, travel, gambling. Okay, I mean, it just never ends. There's just one, like King Solomon called it, folly. This is called folly. And we all engage in folly. And Paul, the Apostle Paul that wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, he went so far as to call himself the chief sinner. I mean, Jesus said things like, those that have been forgiven most will love the most. So what is that? That's almost instructing us to be sinful. But you see, this whole thing about giving permission and taking the taboo away works in reverse, like opposite psychology. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the better God is to us, the more loving and graceful and merciful and understanding and gentle he is with us, the less we want to offend him. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you take the taboo, you say it's okay. I mean, I made you enjoy food. I created the food. I made you needy. And I know that, when you tell me you love me, what you're really telling me is that you need me. God gets it, And that's a beautiful thing. That's something we should all be very grateful for, is that God gets it. When nobody else might get it, we get it. He gets it. And we can take great solace in that fact, that if there's one thing God is not, that is stupid. This is a highly intelligent creator that laid out the universe and all the galaxies and all the solar systems. He built this earth scientifically. He put this atmosphere around it. He did everything perfect to sustain life. He created us. He created all the flora, the fauna, the puppy dogs and the kitty cats. All this stuff that is very enjoyable, brings us joy. All these things came from him. Our sexuality came from him. So the food came from him. So anything that could cause us to sin, ultimately even the drugs came from him, right? The wine, the alcohol. I mean, he gave us the wherewithal, the intelligence to do it. So look, I'm not telling anybody they should use drugs. There's some nasty drugs out there, I know. I mean, I hear about people being hooked on heroin. These things are deadly, man. The meth destroying people's health, the cocaine destroying their brains. And look at George Bush, So I'm just saying, look, I mean, making stuff illegal, though, doesn't help. That taboo makes people want it more. It's like rat poison. You're going to make it illegal because too many people are killing themselves on it? Well, there's no end of ways people find to kill themselves. So, anyhow, the point is, I just wanted to go over this business about sin and kind of point out some of what's written in Scripture because, like I say, ultimately, everything that I talk about, I want people to be able to back up in Scripture and really have an age-old foundation for their belief system. This is what the Bible gives people. It tells you, look, this is what God is like. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Look at all the corroborating evidence. God is a champion of the poor. That the money is the root of all the evil. Yes, the love of money is how Jesus spelled it out. It's a competing God. It has to